All right, welcome back to House Education, February 18, 2026. Turning our attention to H 542. This is the PCB testing bill that we've had in front of us a little bit. This is an opportunity now, I think, to if we want to make changes, and also ask questions about if there are any unintended consequences or anything like that. So I guess the first question for the committee, do you need another walkthrough of the bill, which we could do? Not seeing a lot of yeses or nos here. We'll pause on that. The sort of from a high level point of view, this essentially would end the requirement to test for PCBs within the program that was set up in 2021. This does not end the requirement to test for PCBs if you're doing a major renovation or demolition or construction project. Is that a correct statement?
So if you were going to do a construction project and your building was pre-1980, you're going to do an environmental assessment, and that environmental assessment will include a PCB monitoring plan.
And that's required under a whole other separate bit of statute or federal law. Federal law. So this is not removing that requirement. This is just ending the air quality testing program that was set up. Again, I just want to really emphasize that the main motivation here is because there's no money to pay for it. And there has been no money asked for by the administration. So there's no money proposed in the current budget. There's simply the remaining $4.5 million from the DEC's special fund to address current needs. This also requires the state to continue to pay for the testing and remediation at those schools that have been found to be under the Vermont created action levels. That's only a requirement if we appropriate the money. So that's, so everybody knows that. And that is in keeping with bills we have passed previously that basically say the state is required to pay for the costs here. And then it requires some report back from the agency about what's the current status of those that have been affected, how much money is needed to continue to provide them with the remediation and testing that they need. And that if the state lacks sufficient funds for the investigation and all of that, the Secretary of A&R will submit reports on the amount of funds the General Assembly should appropriate to A&R to sufficiently fund the investigation, remediation, and removal of PCBs in the schools where A&R was positive for the presence of PCBs in excess of the school action levels. So that, I think, mainly sums this up. Anything else?
I think there's the pause. If you tested and you exceeded the school action levels, but there's no money that's there to do the investigation, remediation, and removal, the school is paused from going forward until there is sufficient funds, unless, of course, federal requirements make you go forward with the removal.
And there's nothing to stop a community to go forward funded within their own budget.
Within their own budget, if they want to, but it would not be funded through this program until A&R made the recommendation and you appropriated the money for the program.
Should a school or district go through a construction or a renovation, and during the environmental assessment they find there are PCBs, is it on their own that they have to come up with those funds, or because it was found as part of that, the state helps with those funds, or is it pretty much just on their own again?
So the funding that's available is available for those schools that tested positive because of the air quality testing. If you're going forward with your own construction project and you applied for your construction aid from the state and you did the master planning and you probably already got some money for your assessment, but you didn't get money for your response. And that's going to be something that the school's going to have to navigate on their own.
As they have had to.
In the past, yeah.
all along.
And so all of this, any school that was tested under the current law we're talking about moving, they are continued as long as there's money available to be supported in perpetuity, if the money is there.
If the money's there in perpetuity, yes, they would be, and that till their investigation removal plan was finished, they would be supported. If there was no money, they pause until there is money that's subsequently available.
Should there be money 10 years from now,
Right.
they could start back up and start doing that project.
I mean, part of what I think the next step of this bill is it's going to go to appropriations, and there's going to be that discussion. How much money is necessary to close out those schools that need to do investigation, remediation, and removal? And that'll be a discussion for you and your appropriations committee.
Okay. Thank you.
This bill would not go to appropriations, would not need to go to appropriations, or would it?
No, I think it would,
Because
you basically first you shut down the testing requirement, which already has funding appropriated to it. You have a funding pause in it. I do think, I can't speak for the clerk and what she would recommend, but I do think she would recommend that this goes to appropriations.
that's good. It's good knowing that we should probably move this baby along so that they have time before things get really busy down there as well. And just any other questions on the bill? And, you know, the ANR came in with a number of recommendations that, as Ledge Council has said repeatedly, is more forward-looking as to what the future might be. If you read through that, you'll see that. And it mostly centers around if a school is creating a facilities master plan, that they should test to make sure that their facilities master plan isn't based on a building that may have PCBs with levels above the state action levels. I guess I'm personally not ready to go to what the future should look like, and that those options for testing always exist. And because the state has raised sort of a heightened awareness of PCBs, probably would test anyway. But I think until we sort of clean up the mess that has been the previous program, that we need to sort of think about the future in the future, and more importantly, like when there's money. So that's why I haven't necessarily been advocating to include any of this in H 542. Questions, additions, changes? Are people comfortable voting? Or people, I should say, are people willing to vote this afternoon or today, this morning on it, since we have it on the agenda? Or is there more you need to hear? I don't want to shut anybody out. All right, I think we should go for it.
I mean, I don't know what to say. I feel like this is an impossible choice.
I think every choice we've been having this year has been impossible. Yes.
But like, you're like, okay, let's vote. Like, I'm literally sitting here being like, I don't know which way I'm gonna vote. And the vote is happening in 20 seconds.
Yeah. I mean, if you are saying, could we wait a day? That's fine.
Yeah, well,
Ooh, I'd like that.
You'd like a day?
I'd like a day. I want to absorb both sides a little more.
Okay, I am not trying to ram this through. So
Yeah, yeah.
Just speak up, that's fine.
And I guess that's my question, is what information, as you said, what more information do we need? Or in that 24 hours to be able to decide to vote, or is it still going to be an impossible vote for some people tomorrow, whether you get more information or not?
And not many people feel the need to either reflect or want to check back with folks in their area or whatever. Certainly, so no problem.
I do have a question for you, if I may. You had mentioned 1980 and the federal government. Now that, what you just explained has no bearing on this. Is that correct?
Right, there's a Toxic Substances Control Act, and under that act, PCB manufacturing and distribution and subsequent use was banned for buildings construction after 1980.
Correct.
So anything before 1980 is where that federal law applies and where you have honestly, it comes through your lender. Your lender is not going to take on the potential risk of PCB contamination in a post 1980 building without you doing an assessment of whether or not PCBs are there. And once you've done that, if you exceed a certain level under TSCA, you have certain responsibilities. It might be, if it's low enough, that you can contain it, but if it's above the 50 nanograms, I can't remember the actual scientific standard, but if it's above that 50, then you've got to get it out. You have an affirmative responsibility to remove that material source of the PCBs from the building.
With help from the federal government?
No.
I think for the time being, thank you. We'll, if everybody is comfortable, I'm gonna reschedule the vote then for tomorrow, probably after the House floor. Pop back in here for we'd have a little bit of time left on this discussion. So Chelsea, I don't know if you'd like to weigh in at all. You would be welcome, but if you don't feel the need to, that's fine as well.
We expect something in your inboxes from the superintendent.
Okay. Okay. All right, so for those of you who may still have thoughts or questions, you can talk to me, check in with her too. Happy to continue to express my opinion on this.
I mean,
But, yeah,
it basically goes without saying or that if the administration comes up with the money, then this program will be re-implemented, right? If we voted to,
I would say that the answer to that is no.
oh, okay, so I guess that's one of
The question was, if the money magically appeared, it doesn't magically restart the program.
Testing, it would only restart investigation, remediation, and removal.
Of those
Where
places.
you've already tested and you exceeded the school action levels.
So would there be a way to amend that like we want this to happen if there's funding?
I mean, we could come up with language that says, you sort of can't really hold the future legislature to, we could put in a finding and an intent.
Yeah.
I would say the language already does it. It says the state commits to funding investigation, mediation, and removal. But if there's no funding, then the school is not on the hook itself. And it doesn't have to go forward with investigation, remediation, and removal until the funding becomes available.
I think what Representative Harper is saying is that, and add to that list the restart of the air testing program,
For testing.
which I would say, when we have the problem of having the money available, let's address it then.
Yeah. Right. I guess that the question I really truly need answered in order to vote is how dangerous is this? Who is gonna get sick if we stop this? I really need the answer to that question.
You're not gonna get it.
No, that's the thing that's stopping.
That's the 10-year lawsuit that's going on right now. I would just say, think about it. If we kept the requirement in for air testing and have no money attached to it, what that could potentially create. And not to be a little political here, but this was very clearly a real effort on the administration's part. When we tried to shut it down previously, they came in and said, absolutely do not stop this. And then, especially down in the Senate, they put up lots of slides about the whole program and levels and impacts and all of that. And they felt it was very important. Yet they don't seem to think that it's actually important enough to fund.
Mm.
So that's one way of looking at it.
It's sort of the opposite of school construction.
I'll have to do the math in my head, but maybe.
That's helpful.
Yeah.
Put it that way.
All right, thank you very much. All right, everybody, we then, if there's no further discussion on H542, we will adjourn until our next gathering together, which is at 1:15.